Welcome to the Crystal Coach Show with me, your host, Anahata, helping you live every day with clarity, guidance, and practical wisdom. Are you feeling overwhelmed, anxious, maybe disconnected? Do you ever feel like you don't know how to live a life of peace and joy? I am Anahata Roach, the Crystal Coach, and during this show, we channel divine wisdom through stories of service, spirituality, and stones for self-care. The Crystal Coach Show leaves you with a feeling of connection and the clarity that takes towards becoming the best version of yourself as you hear from thought leaders and many others to help you ignite the crystalline nature of who you really are. Stay tuned. The Crystal Coach Show starts now. And welcome to the Crystal Coach Show. I'm your host, Anahata, and this is actually our third podcast since we started our Crystal Coach Show. The first two shows were themed around escaping this prison-like grip of fear, and we talked about shifting out of fear, and then the act of surrendering and how empowering that is, and then living in gratitude. But towards the end of last episode, I went over several different crystals and stones that you can use that supports your journey in escaping that fear prison. But today, I wanted to take it a little further and talk to you actually about crystals and stones, the three secrets that I call the secrets to working with crystals and stones. Because, after last episodes, when we talked about what crystals are good for, right? Supporting your escape from the prison of fear and surrendering the need to control. Yeah, living in gratitude. I want to now share with you the three secrets that I found very helpful with my clients and for anyone really who is thinking about, well, what do I want to do? Am I interested in getting a hold of a crystal or a stone and seeing if it works with me or works for me? So let me share some three secrets for you. The first one is that you have to let your body decide. You have to let your body choose. We get so interested and involved in the information about everything, right? And there are, I don't know how many crystals and stone books that are out there published in the world. And I used to keep bees. So I like to say that a crystal, if you ask a crystal person about the best way to use a stone, you're going to get three answers from one person. And if you keep bees and you ask a couple of people the best way to keep bees, it's the same thing. You're going to get like 5 answers out of 2 people. So there's really no one right way or wrong way to do it. But I found that like this first secret, letting your body choose your stone, has really made an impact not only in my life, but in some of the lives of my clients when they want to choose a stone. So the first thing that you want to do is not read about your stone. Okay. So if you've heard me talk for example, I talked about how rose quartz supports your journey into self-love, right? But if you wanted to get that crystal, how would you go about picking up the right rose quartz for you? So the first thing you want to do around that is to set an intention. So when you set an intention, you say, okay, what do I want to call to me? How do I want to use this stone or crystal? What is my desire in my heart about how I want to choose this stone? And then you go to the crystal shop, right? Then you go to the crystal shop and you go actually where you're drawn. You don't think about it. You just go, So if you see a bank of crystals and stones, maybe in your mind you want to go for rose quartz, right? But you're drawn to another stone. You're drawn to another bin, right? So you go over there, and there's one that you pick up a couple of three that kind of look good, and you're looking at them and they're pretty, and one of them is going to feel really connected to you. It's going to feel like, oh, this is mine. Yeah. And you're drawn to it. You're letting your body choose. You're not thinking about, I need to get a rose quartz because Anahata says it supports self-love. Or I read in the Book of Stones that this was the best choice for working with shifting out of fear. These kinds of things that have gone in your mind, I mean, sure, you can go and get them, but the body has it has multi dimensions. It's the heart's energy field is far greater than the brain. So the mind has only 5 ways to process reality, right? It's all your 5 senses. But the heart has this really expansive way to really tune in to what's right and what's not for your, and you can feel it in your body sometimes when you try on a thought form and your body goes, oh, no, that's not what I want to do. No. Or you try on a thought form and your body goes, oh yeah, that feels right. That feels right. So pay attention to how your body is reacting when you pick up a certain kind of stone. Okay. um yeah, there's just so many out there. I just really, I can't say it enough. Don't read about it first. If you really want to find something that is going to help you really on multi layers, on like all 5 of your bodies, your physical body, your emotional body, your mental body, your etheric body, your spiritual body, I mean, all of your bodies. You need to just allow the body to choose it, right? So, um, we get crossways with our higher purpose when we use logic and reasoning to choose a stone to work with. And the reason I say that is you could be drawn to a stone, or you want to use that stone in a certain way, or have an intention for it, that if you read about it, it doesn't mention that intention, and it doesn't mention that it's good for that. Well, you don't need to pay attention to that. It matters to your body. There's a mineral in that your body is resonating with, because the minerals in the stones and crystals are the same as the minerals in the body. And so on a frequency level, there is a match. There's a frequency match. So you want to just pay attention to how you resonate with it, and not worry about what other people say a stone is supposed to be used for. Everyone's unique. Everybody's different. Every body is different. So if you get drawn to use rose quartz on your, say, solar plexus, or on your sacral chakra, or to use rose quartz to help you do something, get something done, who's to say that that's not good for you? Not me. That's why I always say the first secret is to let your body choose. I had a really interesting experience with that when I was first starting out and recollecting my crystals. When I was a kid, I had all kinds of stones and crystals in a shoebox, and they were my friends. I played with them and made shapes and stuff out of them. I didn't know what I was doing, but that I was very comfortable with them. And then I left for college, and my mom, she came and cleaned out my room, and I came back and I was looking for my box of rocks. I said, Mama, where's my rocks? And she goes, oh, honey, I just threw them away. What? Oh, honey, they're just rocks. Well, to her, they were just rocks, but to me, they were friends. So anyway, I was saying that when I started in on this path, in this timeline right now, I was reading about them and then saying, oh, I need that. And then I would go and get them. And I would wonder why I couldn't really feel connected to it, right? So once I figured out that my body was speaking to me more loudly than my mind, and I was trying to override what my body was telling me by all of what I'd read, and like, well, but this says this, right? Why can't I use it for this? So I learned the hard way that the best way to find the right stone for you is to allow your body to choose it. Okay. Um, Now, um, the second secret is that, okay, now you found your crystal. Now what? So the secret number 2 is make sure your crystal is cleared. And when I say cleared, I mean, we don't know. We really can't know what happens to your crystal or your mineral that comes from the ground. Okay. So they've been mined. They've been taken out of the earth where they were born, where they lived, where they were comfortable. And that's their home. They've been abruptly uprooted from their home. And who knows how they were treated? They were just thrown into a box, they were tumbled, or they were, power washed, or whatever they were done to in order to get to the place where they could go to market, right? I like to use stones that are not polished. I mean, there's nothing wrong with polished stones, but to me, that it's almost like they have like a plastic bag over them. It's like they're muted. Their energy, their frequencies are muted. So it's much better to go ahead and try to use a raw stone rather than a polished one. When we go to break in a few minutes, I will go get a raw and a polished, and I'll show you what I mean. Okay. But anyway, we were talking about clearing. So we don't know what happens to our stones, and we don't know in the shop who's handled them and what kind of energy they had. So you can't very well come home with a stone and start to work with it immediately until you've cleared it to that default frequency of the earth. Now, how do I do that? What are you talking about, Anahata? You talking about what does it mean to clear? Okay, let me just get. I mean, wait, be patient. I'm getting there. So the ways that you can clear a stone, there's several different ways. Depends on what you have. If you have a water soluble stone, I wouldn't recommend running water over it because you wouldn't have a stone after that. Some water soluble stones are like selenite or lepidolite, and in their raw forms, even some raw form of pyrite dissolves, and that's, I mean, that it was a star kind of a thing, little pyrite flower I had, and I thought pyrite was good, but it dissolved on me. So you just have to be very careful when you use water as a way to clear. And when you use water is really good to use with polished stones. That's okay. So if you're looking at, I'm telling you to get raw stones and you've got polished stones, you can use water, no problem, because the polished stones won't melt on you. So at any rate, we're clearing with water with an intention to remove any energy that is held inside the stone or crystal that isn't of the earth. So I like to think of like a clear mountain stream. And so when I'm running water over a new ally, a little new crystal ally, a new friend that I've brought home, I always have this intention of this clear, pure, snow-fed mountain stream. And that just takes it all away. So that's one way. The other way I always use to clear is by sound. And there's lots of ways you can do with sound. You can use tincture bells, they go ting, or like a drum, or you can tone, you can rattle. Toning is something not, you don't have to be a singer to tone. You just have to have a clear intention. And when, again, that you close your eyes, you get an image of this clear mountain stream, but now you're asking for a tone that goes with that. And then when you get the tone, then you can sound that tone through the stone. And it's an amazing, very quick, and also you can broadcast to a large you know space. So if you have multiple stones and you just want to do it one time, so then you set that intention for that tone and then tone it. I would tone for you, but I'm afraid I might like warp out the audio, so I'm not doing it. um excuse me. Okay, so another way to do this, to clear them, is to put them out in the sun. Now, if you want to put it on a sunny window, that's great, but make sure that it's not for more than a couple of hours. Excuse me. Because if you leave it out like all day and you do that consistently, some of the really pretty color stones like amethyst, which is purple, and rose quartz, which is pink, and citrine, which is yellow, they have a tendency to kind of fade, and the bright, vibrant color that you were drawn to is gone. So you really have to be careful when you put your stones out in the sun, that you don't want to do that consistently every day, because especially like in the summertime, it would get too hot and some stones may crack. So not only do they get discolored or fade, they also crack with too much heat. So you have to just be careful. Yeah. Be careful with the sun, but it's really great when the sun empowers the stone with that really beautiful radiant energy. It always feels really charged up when you clear it that way. The other way is to set it in the moon, in a full moon, especially a full moon bath for your crystals and stones is like primo. That's like my top way to recharge my crystals after I've been using them. So if you wanted to set them out just to get them, to get to charge them up, to clear them out, a full moonlight and a full moon bath is wonderful. If you don't have a way to set them outside, put them in your windowsill when you know that the sun will be, I mean, the moon will be rising on that direction. If you have a window in that direction, then put your and it doesn't even have to be a cloudless night. It's the energy of that full moon that is affecting the stones, not the fact that it's actually the light coming into them. Now, when it is the actual light, that's even better. But again, it's not, you don't be disappointed if it's a cloudy day or a rainy day or whatever when there's a full moon, because you can feel it in your body. So the rocks and stones, they can feel it too. Um, and then the last thing I want to say about clearing your stones is that you can use what's called a smudge stick. It's usually wrapped dried sage, and it's a particular type of white sage. And you can buy them at any kind of metaphysical store or online. But the the smudging, you just kind of light the end of it, and it will glow. I mean, you get it to where it's not like burning. You want it just to smoke. You want the smoke. Okay. So you smudge and you smoke your crystal. Okay. So for example, I've got this black tourmaline piece here. So you're just smudging. Okay. You're smoking you're putting the smoke of sage around your stone, and you are able to then clear that way. Um, so yeah, um, I I'm thinking that's those are the main ways to clear a stone. And as I say, this is like the second secret to working with a stone, because you have to have the thing set to default. It defaults to the Earth's frequencies. And you don't really want to start working with it and try to, um, become connected to it unless it is at the default. And I keep hesitating with the connection word because that's actually secret number 3. And we need to take a short break. So when we come back, I'll start talking about how to connect with the stone and ways in which you can feel like that stone is your friend. Welcome back to the Crystal Coach Show, Anahata. I wanted to let you know that I'm talking to you about all these crystals and stones, and this is what part of my work and part of my passion is helping people to get clarity and guidance and feel empowered and get peaceful with themselves. And a lot of what I do is working with folks about how to use crystals and stones. So if you're interested in that, you can go to my website. It's www.thecrystalcoach.com. I'm also going to be at the end of this. Well, I'm telling you now. I'll tell you to you again when we go to a second break. But I will be offering a free guided meditation. So we'll talk about when we're talking about connecting to crystals and stones, that's what I'm talking about. There's a guided meditation that I do called the Crystal Heart Connection. And I've got it already recorded. And if you wanted to get a copy of that, all you'd need to do is send me an email to mycrystalcoach@gmail.com. That's mycrystalcoach@gmail.com, and use the subject line to put the Crystal Coach Show. And I know you heard it here. Okay. Now, secret number 3 is connecting. So we have the first secret is choosing. The second secret is clearing. And now we're talking about connecting. So you chose it and it chose you. And either for a learning opportunity or to support. So you find out by connecting with it. So a learning opportunity, what do you mean by that? Well, it means that when you pick it up and hold it, you don't really feel comfortable. Sometimes you might be saying, oh, I don't need that one. That actually feels like it bit me. I don't want that. No. But something like that wants to get your attention, that doesn't make you feel like, oh, hello, baby. No, you want it. You want that learning opportunity. I find that the stones that bring up learning opportunities for me are far more valuable sometimes in my own soul growth than the ones that just feel good and I know that they've got my back. You know what I'm saying? So don't necessarily run away from something that makes you feel uncomfortable, because if you connect with it in the way that I'm going to share with you, you can actually get some information from that stone and in the way that how can I best work with you to learn whatever it is that you're bringing up for me. And you'll find that you'll get some clues as to what that is going to help you with. I'm trying to give you an example. The example that I have in my life is, but of course, I already have this way of connecting and choosing, but I had Jet and I had Apache Tear come up and want to work with me. And I didn't like it. I didn't like the feeling of it. Well, lo and behold, I had a series of things, and they're really good to help you through grief and to help you like let it go. Sometimes we can get kind of stuck in this really cycle of grief because we're kind of holding on to the past. And I had a series of things where I had two beloved people in my life, three actually, two of them relatives, my mother and my aunt, and um, a very, very dear and close friend transition like within 6 months of each other. And it was very, very difficult. And then I think I mentioned my hometown had was destroyed by the tornado. So here I am in this pool of grief, and these stones had shown up for me, made me uncomfortable, but I knew I needed to have them around me, and I didn't quite know why. And I'm not suggesting to you that if a stone makes you uncomfortable and you need to have it around you, it's because something tragic's going to happen. It could be just the opposite. You could be drawn to, I don't know, lepidolite or something, and you don't know what it's for, but then you get a new job, or you get something that's really positive in your life, but it's stressful because it's new and there's change. And lepidolite supports that. It supports, you know, lessening the stress. It supports you in getting calm and accepting this change that's happened. So it could be a positive thing, it could be a negative thing. But what the point I'm trying to make is, don't dismiss something that doesn't feel warm and fuzzy. When, if you're drawn to it, if you're using your body to choose and you're drawn to something and you pick it up and it doesn't feel all that great, think about it. What is coming up for me? What am I feeling when I'm holding the stone? Does my stomach kind of get in knots? Am I feeling sad? Am I feeling anxious? Am I feeling butterfly happy? You need to tune in to the body to let get a clue about why this particular stone that you obviously are drawn to is not feeling all that great in your hand, right? So there's I just don't want you to put that back down in the bin, and say, "Oh no, I can't." Well, I mean, everybody has a choice, right? It's a free will place, right? So you could choose not to learn that lesson right then. It may come back and you'll learn it later, right? So it's not you know, pardon the pun, carved in stone, that you have to work with that stone right then. I'm just making you aware that if you're holding a stone and it doesn't feel right, or it feels like it bit you or something, it's like, just ask it, are you here to teach me something? Because we're here in this body and in this reality to learn and to experience, and not to be all cocooned in a comfort zone. I mean, if you want to do that, why are you here? I mean, this is the school. The school is the learning school, right? It's you want these teachable moments so that you can grow as and evolve as a soul. That's what I believe anyway. So, how do we connect with a stone? I connect with a stone by sitting with it in meditation. I've tried to feel into the heart of the stone or the crystal that I'm holding in my hand, um, because I feel like that's the best way to work with it. If you can feel into the essence of that crystal being, that light being that's inside, encased in this beautiful mineral, then that is like you're halfway there to really finding that common frequency that will connect you. Um, like almost like when you're holding the crystal in your hand, and you can, like, underneath, you can almost feel like these little thunderbolts going up from your hand and then coming down from the stone. So it's like that's the communication, that's the connection, the electricity is being generated, that frequency is being shared. Okay, so in meditation, there's a couple of different ways. You can sit and just ask, you feel into the heart and you ask, how best can we work together? And however you get your messages, whether you hear them, you see them, you feel them, or you know them, there's a lot of different ways to intuit. Everyone is intuitive. I don't care who you are. You have an intuitive ability because we're all hardwired for that. We all have a way to connect on an etheric level, on a frequency level, but we've never been taught how to do that. So that's the crystals and stones can teach us. It can teach us how to open our hearts to receive frequencies from outside of ourselves, from the earth. You can receive a frequency from a tree. I mean, people make fun of the tree huggers, but I've done that. I've hugged a tree and it felt really good. It's like being in the arms of a loving mother, just a big loving mother, because trees are connected to the heart of the earth, and that's the energy, is the earth mother. So go hug a tree, see what I mean? So the other part of connecting to a stone or crystal that you get is to journal about it. And when I say journal, I mean, for the longest time, I kept a record of every single stone that I had. I kept, I would write down what, usually there's like if you go to the Gem and Mineral Show, for example, there's always a little tab with your stone that tells you what country of origin it came from, maybe what mine it came from. And so you are, you're really good with that, right? So you got that information already. So if you have that information, I would keep a record of the country and the mine if you have it. Then describe it. How big is it? Is it an inch long? Is it 2 inches long? Is it a diamond shape? Is it round? Is it a cube? Is it triangular? Is it just kind of weirdly shaped? Just kind of describe it. What does it look like? Is it dark? Is it light? Does it have striations? Is it fan shaped? Is it condensed? And the color and, all of that, so that you have a record of this stone. And then after you've connected to it, then you journal about what experiences you've had connecting to that stone, right? So, I'm trying to think about I've actually made a spreadsheet. If you want to geek out about that, I've actually made a spreadsheet where I've got all of my stones and I've got them grouped by element. It's because in the way I work, crystals and stones minerals are grouped by elements. So there's a fire element, there's an earth element, there's a water element, and there's an air element, but we call it wind because air seems kind of like stagnant. Wind has movement. And then in my practice, there's a fifth element. It's called storm. Storm is all 4 elements put together. And think about what storm does. Storm is all about change and transformation. So when we come back, we'll talk more about the elements and how you can also work with them. But in the meantime, remember, if you'd like a copy or you would like to use the guided meditation that I have called the Crystal Heart Meditation, you can drop me an email at mycrystalcoach@gmail.com and the subject line, The Crystal Coach Show. We're going to take another short break and we'll be right back. Hi, Anahata Roach, the Crystal Coach at the Crystal Coach Show. And we're now going to talk about the four elements, or actually the five elements. So, as I mentioned before, the fire element is the element that is about creating and manifesting. So, if you think about how fire, creates an opportunity to birth things, right? There's the passion, there's this sense of bringing forth. And then it's also the manifestation. So, things are created twice, really. Once in your mind as a thought, and then it is as a manifested thing in the physical realm. And so the fire element helps you to um, bring what you desire to you if you are willing to use divine will rather than your will, so surrendering control, right? So the fire element stones that are associated with that, or like malachite that does that, that supports you surrendering your own control, or the need to control everything to the divine. It's also about being in alignment with your highest and best good. So bringing and creating and manifesting something that is in, highest and best good for you. Because honestly, ego likes to tell you, the gremlins like to sit on your shoulder and go, nah, you can't do that. That's stupid. Oh, no, you'll never be able to do that. But if it's in alignment with your highest and best good, and you have the highest intention, I mean, it's not like I'm going to get back at that so and so, and I'm going to show him or her, and I'm going to, that's an egoic intention. It's not really in alignment, and the gremlins are going to continue to stay on your shoulder and say, yeah, you're not going to do that. But if you feel like you've made a decision and things kind of go click, 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 right? Clicks in and you go, yes, I was afraid to make that decision, but by golly, I've made it, and it's a good one. Guess what? That frequency, those gremlins have to jump off. They can't stay. So when you feel very lined up, you're using the fire element. Okay. Now, the earth element. The earth element has to do with everything in 3D. It's your home, your family of origin, your core beliefs, your physical body, your physical relationships, your career, your material goods, everything in 3D, right? So the things that work within the crystals and stones realm, within the earth element, are things that ground you, that help you be present, that help you to have that courage to face your fear and do it anyway, to transmute negativity to clear light, to protect, to kind of like absorb and protect you from toxicity. And those kinds of things, those kinds of stones and crystals are within the earth element, right? Also, the yin and the yang energy are in the earth element. Then we have the water element. The water element is all about your emotional body. So it's how we feel about things, how we perceive those feelings, how we receive feelings from others. And so it's our, on an emotional level, it's our part of our physical relationships, but it's the emotional part, the emotional attachments. We can get really bogged down. In my work, I see this a lot, and in my own life, I've certainly had to clear a lot of this. But we get bogged down by all the attachments that we make to emotions, or an emotional attachment to an outcome, right? So I've met the person that I feel is going to be my soulmate, or I'm going to be with them forever. And so I have attached that outcome to this relationship. And what happens? People come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And maybe that was just a reason. And so you've had this emotional attachment to it being a lifetime, and it doesn't happen that way. Well, emotional attachments just get in the way. They just continually make us disappointed. So within the water element, we've got crystals and stones that help us to release those attachments, to let go, to find joy and gratitude, to heal the small wounded little one inside us. Every single one of us. I don't care how old you are. Every single one of us has mommy daddy issues. Every one of us. Don't care. Don't talk to me. I don't care. Every single one of us. It just is what it is, right? But there's a little one inside that holds on to these emotional wounds and hurts. And the water element helps to heal that and to help us release that, right? So there's all, I mean, forgiveness, for heaven's sake, that's in the water element. So the water element has this aspect of just kind of helping us rinse out, clear out, wash out that which no longer serves. The wind element. The wind element is the fourth one. That has to do with your mental body. It's your association with your thoughts. It's your connection to your higher self and to the divine. It's, you go through the mental body into the spiritual one. Yeah. And the way in which we get crossways is that we get these programs that we have been given or we made up in our heads, in these thoughts, and we perceive reality in that way for the rest of our lives. For example, if you were chased or bitten by a dog when you were little, then for the rest of your life, every time you see a dog, you're afraid, and all dogs are bad, right? There's no other dog that's going to be okay for you because all dogs are bad, because that program says all dogs are bad. I was bitten by a dog, so therefore I'm afraid of dogs and dogs are bad. That's just an example of how you can program yourself to perceive your reality in a specific way that's not necessarily in alignment with your highest and best good, right? So the mental body is how you use those thoughts that you have, how you plant those thoughts, those, I call them thought seeds, in the fertile field of the universe, and how, they're going to grow and they're going to come to you, whether it was a thought seed that was planted from fear or it's a thought seed that's planted from desire or love. Yeah. Big difference. Big difference. Sometimes you bring to you that which you do not want because you're afraid of it, or you're worried about it, or you're obsessed about something not happening. Well, because you put that energy out there in your mental body, it's calling, that frequency is calling it back to you. It's the opposite of what you really want. So focus on the positive rather than the negative, because that's the outcome you really want, right? So in the mineral kingdom, the kinds of things that you find with supporting with wind element are getting confidence, knowing what you know, self-knowledge, being able to see a broader path for yourself. Some of us long for what do we do? What are we going to do when we grow up, right? What's our path of service? And the wind element helps you to kind of locate your landing strip and wait for the lights to come on so that you know where you're landing, right? So there's that. There's just so many other ways in which the wind element can be supported. And then finally, there's the storm element. As I said before, it's all about change and transformation. So you have transformation energy in Moldavite, and that is the transformation stone. And it's one of the storm element's highest frequencies, and it's the one that is the most challenging to work with. I have kind of a fun story about working with Moldavite. The first time, my body guided me to Moldavite. I picked out a piece of Moldavite and I held it in my hand, and I immediately had a headache. And I was like, well, I don't want this. And no, my body was like, yes, you do. Yes, you do. So, okay, well, this was early in my collection. So I was just starting an altar collection. It's kind of on a fireplace mantle in my home. And I put it there and I'd walk by it every day. And I'm just like, you give me a headache. And one day I was walking by it and I swear to you, I heard, wear me. Wait a minute. What? Wear me. And I looked at it. I picked it up and I go, you give me a headache. No, wear me. Okay. So I got one of those little spirally things that you can put the stone inside. It's kind of like a little wire cage. And I wore it. And I had a low-grade headache for 3 full days. And then the 4th day, it was gone. You know why? I found out later, Moldavite is such a high frequency that the human has to come into frequency with it. It has to your frequency has to raise up to match the Moldavite, or it's continually going to make you feel uneasy, or it's going to give you a headache, or some people it makes them feel dizzy, or their stomach hurts. Don't blame the stone. You're the one that needs to come into resonance with it. So it's just an interesting way to look at crystals and stones. They're just not little playthings and play toys. For me, they're real beings, and they're just as alive in a different way, but they have frequency and they have connection and they have energy just like we do. So you don't use them like slaves, you use them like partners. And to being partnering in a very high frequency stone, you got to come up to its level. It doesn't come down to yours. That's a fun fact. So anyway, I am before we wrap up, I wanted to show you, remember I said I wanted to show you the difference between a polished stone and a raw stone. So these are 2 pieces of rose quartz. Okay, this is a polished stone. So it's been polished into like an oblong, but this is a raw piece of rose quartz. So when you're going to the store, it doesn't matter if you're drawn to the polished one or the raw one, but the raw one has more access to the frequency of self-love than this one's a little more muted, but it's pretty. Thank you all so much for being part of the Crystal Coach Show today and sitting with me. I really appreciate it. And I look forward to talking with you next time on the Crystal Coach Show with Anahata. Bye. You have been listening to the Crystal Coach Show, helping you live every day with clarity, guidance, and practical wisdom. With me, your host, Anahata. Tune in every first and third Monday at 10 a.m. Pacific Time on TransformationTalkRadio.com, where we channel divine wisdom through stories of service, spirituality, and stones for self-care. Feel connected and reside in the vibration of love on The Crystal Coach Show. For more information and to become the best version of yourself, visit thecrystalcoach.com. That's thecrystalcoach.com. See you next time.